So what particular set of skills does Liam Neeson have in Retribution? Well, he has bank investing skills, and he's a pretty good driver. Let's talk about this new thriller. Hey everyone, it's David Starr from Watcher Pass, and Liam Neeson is back in another thriller with a one-word title, Retribution. It's coming to theaters on August 25th, 2023. This is a new Liam Neeson thriller where, again, he has to use a very particular set of skills to overcome a very difficult obstacle. This is actually a remake. There's actually a remake of a Spanish film called Retribution that came out in 2015. There was a German remake called Don't Get Out. There was a South Korean remake called Hard Hit. Now this is coming to America, and it uses the original title. It is the third remake, is third time a charm. Well, my hot take is, look, I think you should rent it. I liked the simple setup. I liked that it had a fairly decent story, and, you know, it had some exciting moments, but it feels like the ending doesn't reward your overall time investment in this movie. So that being said, it was entertaining. I liked a lot about it. So I'm going to tell you a little more about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then very quickly go into the ending. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the ending section. If you don't want to know what happens in this movie, I would turn off when I get there. Before that, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler free. And I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. So in Retribution, you have Liam Neeson playing Matt Turner, who is, I guess he's a bank executive according to the kind of synopsis. I thought he felt more like a hedge fund manager. Maybe he's both. Maybe he is managing these people's money and making investments and doing things like that. But he is living a nice life in Berlin with his wife and 2 kids. But it feels like things aren't that great under the surface. It feels like his marriage might be strained a little bit. His kids aren't the best behaved. He is always obsessed with his work. And this morning when he goes to drop his kids off, like the one day he's decided to kind of drop the kids off because his wife has something that she absolutely has to do, he gets a call that leads to a very terrible, very stressful, very thrilling experience. So things I liked about this movie. The first, I liked the fairly simple setup. Look, this is someone who is stuck in his car. There are circumstances preventing him or his kids from getting out of it, and he has to kind of listen to what this person on the phone is telling him to do, or else terrible things will happen. It feels kind of like, I don't know, phone booth or Speed. It doesn't get overly complicated, which makes it easy to follow. And also, you know, Liam Neeson does a pretty good job when he is kind of front and center, and this is pretty much him front and center because that is basically all that you can have in this simple setup. So second thing I like, look, I like the effects. I thought there were some pretty decent effects. There aren't a ton of them, and there are some explosions that happen that I liked a lot. Now, it's a mixed bag, as you'll see in the things I didn't like. Like, they're kind of good and bad, but when the effects are good, they're nice, they're effective. They really emphasize the weight of what's going on and the consequences of what happens if you don't listen to the voice. And the last thing I like, look, I liked the sound. There's some really good sound, especially when the explosions happen. When there's an explosion, it has like a concussing effect, essentially. Like, you know, everyone's hearing goes out for a little bit. You just hear a little bit. It is a nice touch. And it really, again, emphasizes the consequences of what can happen in this film. I probably already said the last thing, but the actual last thing I liked the cast. I liked that, you know, the kids in this film, they were supposed to be a little bit kind of brats, but I thought they did a good job of acting. I thought they did a really nice job. They didn't distract, right? Sometimes when you have kids in a movie, they can be distracting and their acting isn't as crisp. It kind of feels forced. This one didn't have that. They both felt natural. They both were entertaining, and they were an important part in giving you a sense of the stakes that Liam Neeson was dealing with in this overall situation. So I really liked that they were in there and thought that they definitely added to the overall sense of dread in this thriller. So all that being said, things I didn't love as much about this. The first, there were some not that great special effects, especially towards the end. There's some pretty obvious CG used when like some of the crazier car stuff happens. And I just said I liked some of the effects. Some of the CG for some of the explosions wasn't that great. Again, it was a mixed bag. I really liked it when it was good. It was distracting when it wasn't that good, although there weren't a ton of CG effects used. So even though they were distracting, it didn't really take away from a lot of the movie. The second thing I didn't love as much, I didn't love the twist. It didn't really make a ton of sense to me. It's fine because it kind of gets you this like eye-popping moment, but it does seem like a little bit of ridiculousness, especially when you kind of think into the logistics of what had to happen. And the last thing I didn't love as much, I didn't really love the ending. It wasn't really a satisfying overall ending to this entire endeavor. I mean, look, it wrapped up quickly. The film was a nice kind of compact 90 minutes. It didn't feel like it dragged out too much, but it did feel like the ending just kind of like almost leapt off a cliff. Like it just kind of ends abruptly. I was expecting more. I was expecting like a couple later scenes, but nope. When it ends, and then you get a little bit of updates in the credits, but even those were kind of like tough to hear and tough to follow. So all that being said, Retribution comes to theaters on August 25th, 2023. I think you should rent it, but look, if you're a Neeson fan, you'll probably enjoy this. He does play a little bit of a different character, even though he is still kind of a badass. He is a bank badass who has a little bit of physicality. It's kind of funny because the movie starts with him like boxing, and you're like, okay, so he is like this executive who's going to be able to kind of throw some punches. And then for the most part, he doesn't really show any of his action chops. So it is a more of a different role for Liam Neeson than you're kind of used to, but it still kind of has a similar feel, a similar formula to his other work. So if you like his other work, you will probably enjoy this. I think it's ultimately rental, but whatever you decide you want to do, Retribution is out on August 25th, 2023. I'm going to go into the ending now. So if you don't want to know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So Retribution kind of starts off with a bang. You don't get any context for this, but you see a lot of like computer chips, and it seems like someone is working on them. You get the sense that someone is building a bomb, and then you see a car blow up. You don't know who was in this car. You don't know anything about it, but you do know that some car exploded. Is it in the past? Is it in the future? You don't know. But then you get to meet Matt, who is Liam Neeson's character. He is a bank executive. Like I said, his family is kind of hit or miss. He is always obsessed with work. But when he gets into the car today, he gets a call from this anonymous number on the cell phone that was placed in his car. And that person tells him that he has to follow exactly what he says or else he's going to blow up the car. Oh, and also there are pressure triggers on the seats. So if he tries to get out, his car is also going to blow up. And lo and behold, this is the day that Matt decided to drive his kids to school. So they are also trapped in this car. If anyone gets out of the car, it blows up. If Liam Neeson doesn't do what the voice wants, it blows up. Not a great situation. So at first, Matt tries to like downplay it, tries to like not get his kids involved, tries to handle it himself. But eventually, one of the requests from the person on the phone is that his kids' phones get thrown out the window. And as you can imagine, kids, I think one of them is like 15, one is like probably 9 or 10. So if you try to get a device away from a kid, they are not going to be happy about it. He basically has to like tell them if they don't do it, they're all going to die. He throws out their phones, and now they're all in this together. And the voice has him drive to certain places, and one of the first places he goes to a location where across the street he sees one of his coworkers, this coworker named Silva, who's played by Arian Moayed. He was like a fun character. I wish he had a bigger role. He has a very small role in this, but it was fun to see him in this movie. And basically that person is also stuck in his car. His car is also rigged. Someone called him to tell him that if he got out of the car or if he called the police, he would blow up. So he is freaking out. But unfortunately for him, he has a girlfriend, I believe, girlfriend or wife, but I feel like it's a girlfriend, who is also freaking out, and she is very concerned. He is like telling her like, just be calm, knock it out, and she is freaking out. He eventually has to like hold her down to make sure that she doesn't leave the car so it doesn't blow up. And this gets the attention of a cop. And so a cop decides to come up and take a look at what's happening. When he gets there, is very tense. The girlfriend is scared. She just runs out of the car. And when that happens, it blows up. It's a pretty good scene. I liked that there was like a bunch of gore and debris that came out of this. And some of that gore gets onto Matt's car and right on the windshield, and he wipes it off with a windshield wiper. But I did like, it was a very subtle touch, but it kind of smeared some of the gore and it didn't go away. So that was like on his car the entire time, kind of a constant reminder of what could happen if he doesn't listen. But as you can imagine, a car blows up. Matt's car drives away. He becomes a person of interest. Now you get to see like news bulletins about this explosion and how Matt is like someone who is being sought for information. Not great for Matt. And now we get a kind of a police presence in this overall chase. Eventually, the voice leads him to this kind of like abandoned train intersection, and across the intersection is his partner Anders. Anders and Matt are like the two main people in this, I guess, bank. I thought it was a hedge fund, but I guess it's a bank. So they are the two bank managers. And when he gets there, the voice tells him that he wants him and Anders to transfer their like slush fund to him. They have this kind of like offshore bank account in Dubai that has 208 million euros, a lot of money. Now it feels like it's kind of unclear throughout the movie what this is. It feels like it could be a slush fund for them to like their like exit strategy. It could also just be a place where the client's money is stored, but it's stored out of the country, maybe for tax purposes. I don't know. But there is this 208 million euro pool in this offshore account, and both Anders and Matt have to authorize for it to be moved. So when he gets there, the voice tells him to like threaten Anders and say, transfer the money or you're dead. So Anders then does it. He calls up the institution. He gives his permission for it to be transferred. And he's like, hey, like I did what you wanted. What do you want to do now? And this is where the voice on the phone then tells Matt to reach in his glove box, pull out a gun, and kill Anders. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. Like he already did what you wanted. And he's like, kill Anders or you're all dead. So this is a tense scene where Matt has the gun pointed at Anders. The voice on the phone gives him a countdown for when he's going to get blown up. And Matt's holding it, shaking. And in the end, he just throws it on the ground. Like, he can't do it. He can't kill his best friend / partner, Anders. And he doesn't blow up. Like, great. Maybe it was all an idle threat. But then a train whizzes by, blocks his view for a second. And then when the train passes, Anders' car blows up. And there's a big old debris field. It feels like there's either shrapnel in the bomb or the car itself became shrapnel. That flies into Matt's car. It, like, some of the shrapnel goes through his panel. I guess his Mercedes wasn't bulletproof. And unfortunately for Matt, Anders died anyways, but at least Matt didn't pull the trigger. Now, also unfortunately for Matt, some of that shrapnel went into where his kids were, and one of those pieces lodged into his daughter's leg. And so, not great for her. She's starting to bleed, but she stays calm. Now, Matt has her son tie a tourniquet type thing with a silk tie. I don't think he gets it tight enough to actually cut off the blood flow, but he's trying. And I guess it helps because his daughter still is losing blood, but maybe she's losing it a little bit less. That being said, he probably should have really tied that tight to really cut off that blood flow. But in any event, now Matt is angry because he did what the person wanted, and that person still killed Anders. He drives, and also his daughter is hurt. So he drives to the hospital. He says, you know what? I don't care. Like, you can kill me if you want. You're not going to kill me because you need me for this money. I'm going to take my daughter to the hospital, and then we will talk. Now, earlier, Matt had a call from a Europol agent, an agent who was trying to, like, figure out what it was. And she was an interesting character. She was a little bit frustrating because she, like, didn't feel like she was listening to Matt. But again, he was saying some crazy stuff. So one of the things that Matt said was, you have to shut down the cell phone network because this person has a bomb. It's a cell phone signal, and he's telling me what to do. If you don't shut down the cell phone network, like, we're all dead. So as he's driving to the hospital with his daughter, he goes into a tunnel, and there's some police officers there, and they like try to stop him. He gets around them, but he also notices that his signal is dead. Now, is this because it's a tunnel? I don't know. He had great signal before. Now, all of a sudden, his signal is gone. He emerges from the tunnel. There's an entire police, like, blockade there. He has to stop. There's all these guns trained on him. But you also notice that his signal is not there. So now the negotiator, the Europol agent, goes up to his car. She kind of takes great risk to herself because they all think that maybe he's a master criminal with an explosive in his car. She goes up to him, talks to him, and basically they find out that they did shut down the cell phone network for 5 blocks. They, like, shut down all the cell signal in this 5 blocks, which is a big accomplishment. She makes a joke that she says the cell signal in Berlin hasn't gone down since 1945. A World War II joke. It was a little funny. I kind of chuckled at it. But also, because all the cell phone signal is down, we think that the person can't see what's happening, and they think that it's kind of a blackout. And so now we have some bomb squad people go up to the car, analyze it, and Matt's like, the bomb's under my seat. The bomb's under my seat. They look all around the car. They go painfully slow because, look, they have to be careful. And they check the kid seats, and they don't think that there's anything in the kid seats. So now they want to get the kids out. They remove the doors from the car. So they, like, fully remove the doors. They get the kids out. But unfortunately for Matt, there is a bomb under his seat, and it is pressure activated, so he can't leave. But he's okay with this because the kids are all out. Now, after the kids are safe, they try to get Matt to, like, come in for questioning. They try to get Matt to stop. And he's like, no, like, we need to get the person on the phone. They're like, we will get that person, but first we need you to get you safe. And he's like, no, like, this is not going to end without that person on the phone. And he is surrounded by cops. They all have guns trained on him, and Matt decides, you know what? I'm not going to listen to the Europol agents. I'm not going to listen to the cops. I'm going to go finish this myself. So he guns it, takes off. A couple shots happen, but they don't hit him. They kind of hit other pieces of the car, and he is out of there. So once he gets cell phone signal, the voice on the phone tells him, you know, if you hang up on me again, you're dead. And Matt's like, I don't care. Like, you need me. You need me to transfer this money. This is all about money. I'm the only one that can get it for you, so you're going to listen to me. We're going to do this face-to-face. I'm not going to do this over the phone. And if you want to blow me up, whatever. And he kind of basically calls the person on the phone's bluff, and the person gives him an address to meet. Now, when he's there, someone cuts into his car. It is this tall person with, like, a black, like, rabbit or rat face mask. There is, like, a protest happening, so it's kind of a nice cover. And that person tells him to drive somewhere a little more quiet. They get to a more secluded spot. That person pulls off the mask, and wouldn't you know, it's Anders, his best friend, his partner. He was the one behind this whole explosion plot. He killed Sylvan. He killed someone earlier, that like random person at the start. Still didn't really figure out who he is. It seems like he is maybe like a European regulator, someone that was going to start looking into maybe some misconduct at this bank. And so That person blew up, then Sylvan blew up, then Anders blew up. The way that he blew up was that he used the trains, because it's Germany, they're always running on time. He timed it perfectly so that the train came, he was able to like switch out of the car, get to cover, and then boom, blew it up as soon as the train had passed, so that it looked like something terrible had happened. Now, I don't really know how he did this, because during this entire time, he was on the phone with Matt as the voice. He was on the phone with Matt as himself. He had a voice modulator, but I don't know how quickly he could turn it off and turn it on. So it seems a little bit tricky for him to have actually orchestrated this, especially when he is like yelling at Matt that he's got to shoot Anders and whatnot. Again, also, it felt weird that the Anders would be telling Matt to shoot him. It seems like maybe that would have been against what Anders wanted, but you know what? It was a tense scene, and somehow Anders pulled it all off. Now, basically, what he wants Matt to do is he wants Matt to transfer the money so that he can use it as like his exit strategy. This is his like safety net. He thinks that, I think he thinks the regulators are coming. I think he thinks that like misconduct in the bank is going to be investigated. And so he wants to get out and get that money and just kind of leave. He's planning to transfer it to crypto, which will then be untraceable. Maybe. And hopefully, you know, the crypto is not going to tank, but I guess $208 million, even if it does tank, that's what, like $50 million, even $10 million. That's still plenty of money. So the first person that was killed was this person, Pilsgrover. He found out that Anders was siphoning money to this offshore account, but both he and Matt knew about this. So it seems like they both kind of are implicated in this offshore account. So Anders had to kill him, and then he had to come up with this whole plot to fake his own death, kill his partners, blame it on Matt so that Anders wouldn't go to prison. He said, like, I'm not going to do well in prison. Like, I'm not going to do well in prison. I'm going to get killed. So he came up with this whole plan to get the money, frame Matt, and just like disappear. So after he tells this, he wants Matt to call the bank, and he says, like, this is your last chance. And remember, Anders in the car. So basically he's threatening, like, if you don't do this, I'm going to blow the car up. But that means I'm going to blow himself up too. And Matt's like, there's one thing you didn't really think about in your super plan that you planned everything out. You didn't think about what a man will do when he has nothing to lose. And that's when good old vintage Neeson takes over. He guns the car, starts driving. Anders like buckles up because now it's a very unsafe car because there's a bomb under it and there are no doors. So Neeson starts driving. He starts going super fast. He gets the car on a bridge, and he hits like the center divider of this bridge, which causes the car to tip on its side. So now it is like it slides, it's teetering on the edge, and Anders's phone fell out during this accident. Now it's just a little bit outside of his reach. It's just down on the concrete, but Matt is kind of over the water in this car. And so we see Anders trying to reach down to get his phone, presumably to trigger the bomb, just to end it all. And that's when Matt gets this idea, like, well, look, if the pressure plate goes off, I'm going to blow up. But look, I'm like suspended over the water. So Matt grabs his seatbelt, unhooks it, falls down out of the car into the water. He apparently gets far enough away for the car to explode without killing him. And also, I would assume the shrapnel would have just like went right to him. But he also miraculously doesn't get hit by any shrapnel. He unbuckles, gets out, car blows up, takes Anders with it. He falls into the water and then swims to shore. Now, this explosion obviously gets the attention of the police. They all converge. You would think they would be following him anyway, since he just like gunned it out of their entire presence. But I don't know, maybe they kept a safe distance. And they get to the explosion. The negotiator / leader of the Europol team gets there, sees the car, looks to the water, and looks right at Matt. Matt is getting out of the water. He stands up, he sees her, then kind of looks off in the distance, and he gets flashes of his family, his like daughter smiling, his son smiling, him and his wife like in love. And then Matt smiles, and that's the end of the movie. And I was like, what? Like, do we get any closure? Like, do they work it out? Do him and his wife make a better life? You kind of anticipate that because that's what he's thinking. But like, did he get blamed for any of this? Was there any investigation into the money that he siphoned out? You don't get any of that closure. The screen just goes black. That's the movie. During the credits, you get a few quick updates, and it sounds like they're spinning it. There's like some news stories that were tough to hear. I had to watch it like twice to get like what was happening. But basically, they were talking about how there was a bomber. This person, Anders, was the mastermind behind it. Matt worked with Europol to kind of like quickly uncover this. And it seems like they are blaming everything on Anders, and Matt is kind of being hailed as a hero. So That is Retribution. Like I said, there was a lot that I did like about it, but overall, I think it's a rental. I just didn't like the way it ended. I thought it kind of ended a little bit too conveniently. I thought the Anders twist like didn't really make a ton of sense, and it ended without much closure. So it's coming to theaters on August 25th, 2023. If you do check it out, let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. Love to hear what I got right, what I got wrong. And thanks so much for watching. If you liked this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.